Welcome back. So the first thing I want to show you is, if you recall, we moved a lot of our assets inside the assets folder, and so now when you collapse assets or when you close assets, you only see assets neatly organized into multiple folders, and then the imported assets or the assets that we brought in from the marketplace. So we have the Infinity Blade assets or the Infinity Blade effects, and then we have starter content. So we neatly arranged it. But however, if you have to close your project and reopen it, it will open up into a new map or a blank map, and while ideally it should be opening up to your third person map, or that's what this map is called. In fact, I don't want to call this third person map. I'm going to rename this. So let's say if I go over to my maps, first I'll rename the map and I'll call this main map. Okay, I'll just rename that as main map. And then after that, I'll go over to my project settings, and then I'll go over to the maps and modes, and this is called editor startup map, and the game default map is none, because we moved the positions of the physical position of the maps themselves. We did not copy them over. In fact, we moved them over. So it did not know where to look at, so it just took off the reference and it's blank now. So editor startup map again can be the main map, and the game default map can also be the main map. That's about it. That's all. Just wanted to show you that. Now, next up. So, if you look at your sprites and images, we had brought in all of these assets for beautifying our HUD and making it look better. And among these assets was a hit marker, was an asset called hit marker. So we're going to use this asset as an indication for you as the player to know when you're hitting an enemy. So it's just going to be sitting in the center of the screen. It's a very simple thing to implement. It's just going to be sitting in the center of the screen and let you know when you are hitting the enemy. Okay, so very simple to get it implemented. And after that, we will start implementing these buttons. So for now, we won't do that, but we just look at the hit marker, implementing the hit marker, and then after that we look at all of these buttons and making these buttons also look good, maybe later on. Okay, so for now, let's get started with the hit marker thing. Okay, so for us to use that, let's go over to the widgets folder and let's create a new widget. And the reason I'm not using it in my HUD widget, because I want to bring this over and again. So if you have 3 enemies right now, so we're shooting the 3 enemies, so maybe you'll have 10 enemies. So I'll have to be calling this over and again all the time. So that's why I'll have a separate widget of its own. So that's not a big deal, and I'll call this hit marker. Okay, and open that up. Now I'll close the ones that I don't need right now, and this is third person game mode. I think also this needs to be changed. That's okay. For now, we'll just keep it. And HUD, I'll keep the HUD because we might have to go back in there. So I'll drag the image. I'll drag an image component from here, from the palette, and drop it in the center. And again, I'll anchor them to the dead center. So 0 and 0. And of course, it will be sitting on the top left corner because that's where the center anchor is. So again, we can do an alignment of 0.5 and 0.5 so that it sits in the dead center, and I'll just say size to content so that it sits exactly in the center. Now we just need to bring in the asset itself. So click on here and look for hit marker, and you have 2 hit markers. So the one that is a texture, the one that's from inside the sprites and images, not from the one that's inside the crosshairs. Okay. In fact, let me go back and probably rename that. If I first save all, and if I go back to my sprites and images, and there's a hit marker here, and there's also a hit marker here. Okay, I think let's say, okay, fine. So I'll just keep them that way. I just have to, I just have to make a mental note that the ones inside the sprites and images, not inside crosshair, needs to be used. Okay, so I'll just type in hit marker, and this is the one because that is inside sprites and images and not inside the crosshair. So I'll just do that, and when you look here, and that is looking fine. So right in the dead center, and it's a hit marker. It's gonna fade in and fade out, so we have to add a quick animation to it. Before that, I'll rename this. That's a good practice. So I'll just call this hit marker. And the opacity, I'm going to make it 0, and I will start implementing the animation for it. I'll start creating the animation for it. Okay, so let's create an animation. I'm going to click on this plus button on the animation, and I'll say anim underscore hit marker. I'll just move this away. Hit marker fade. Okay, and when you click on this, you will be able to choose the elements from inside the hierarchy. Click on this and then we get the hit marker. Just remember, not the hit marker with canvas panel slot in brackets. So we'll have to get this, and then again click on the track again to create a color and opacity track. Now let's decide how long this animation is going to be. You can't have it for 1 second, it's going to be too long. You can have it for probably half a second. So let's say on opacity, okay, this has to be 0. If I compile that, and so when it starts at opacity, it'll be 0. Okay, and then at 0.25 seconds, it's gonna be 1, like that. And then at 0.5 seconds again, it's gonna go back to 0, just like that. Okay, now when you hit play, you should be able to see it. Okay, let me try, and okay, I think it did not work. So this is 0 and 1 and 0, 0 and 1 and 0. Oh, I think I was actually made the alpha, not the tint, but the color and opacity out here. That should be 0. Okay, and now if I hit play, let's see. There you go. So now it's actually playing the fade animation. So at 0, at time 0, it's 0. Then at time 0.25, it's full opacity. And then again at 0.5, at half a second, it goes back to 0. So that's a proper fade, right? Great. Okay, so we have the animation. So let's get out of the animation editor and let's go over to our graph section. And let's get rid of the pre-construct. We don't need it. Let's also get rid of event tick. We also don't need that. Now inside event construct, the first thing is we have to play the animation. So as the only task for this widget is going to be to play the animation, and that's it. So I'll just say play animation, and the animation is going to be the animation that we just created. That is the hit mark anim underscore hit marker fade, and just drag and drop it. Okay, I'll just okay, out here, just drag and drop it here, and that's about it. And it'll do its job. Everything else stays the same. It just needs to play it once. The play mode is forward, and the playback speed is also 1, which is all normal, which is all default. And we have to start from the beginning of the animation.